So, Euler's algebra problem from 1770, the donkey and the mule. So one day, a mule was walking along the road, a donkey was also, they were both carrying some things, and they met along the way. And the mule says, "If you give me 100 kilograms of your weight, then I will have 2 times as much as you." And the donkey says, "But if you give me 100 kilograms of your weight, then I will have 3 times as much as you." We don't know how much the mule has, so we call it M. And we don't know how much the donkey has either, so we'll just call that D. But we do know some relationships between them. For one, the mule says, if you give me 100, meaning take away 100 from the donkey and add it to the mule, then he will have, meaning will be equal to, 2 times as much as the donkey. So we times the donkey by 2. And there's a first equation. But we can make another equation too with what the donkey said. So the donkey also said, if you give me 100, meaning take away 100 from the mule and add it to the donkey, then he will have, which means will be equal to, 3 times as much as the mule. So we times the mule by 3. And then we have 2 equations. Now that we have the equations, now we can perform some algebra on them and figure out what is the donkey's weight and what is the mule's weight. So now that we have our equations, we'd like to perform some algebra on them. And so first, we're going to distribute through the parentheses. So when we do that, we end up with D plus 100 is equal to 3m minus 300. And we end up with 2d minus 200 is equal to m plus 100. Now, the next thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to multiply all of this equation by 2. And when I do that, I end up with 2d plus 200 is equal to 6m minus 600. And why I did this is so that there's a 2d in each of them. So now I'm going to make all of this negative. I'm going to multiply by -1. So this becomes a negative 2d. This becomes a negative 200. That becomes a negative 6m. And this becomes a positive 600. So now I move all of those over here. So I'm going to have a negative 2d, a negative 200, a negative 6m, and a positive 600. So now I'm adding those together. When I combine these two, 2d minus 2d is 0d. Negative 200 and negative 200 is negative 400. M minus 6m is minus 5m. And 100 plus 600 is 700. Now, there's only one variable. So what I'm going to do is isolate that variable by subtracting 700 from both sides. These cancel. And on this side, I have only a negative 5m. Negative 400 minus 700 is negative 11. That would be negative 1100. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by -5. And -1100 divided by -5 is 220. And -5 divided by -5 is just 1m. So I found that the mule was 220 kgs. Now with this, knowing what the mule weighs, or how much he's carrying, I can put that back into this equation here and rewrite it as the donkey plus 100 is equal to 3 times the mule, but we now know the mule is 220 minus 100. So now I'm going to solve this one. So first I can do what's in the parentheses here. 220 minus 100 is 120. So d plus 100 is equal to 3 times 120. So d plus 100 is equal to 360. And now, to get that d by itself, I need to subtract 100 from both sides. And when I do that, I end up with d, 100 minus 100 cancels, is equal to 360 minus 100 is 260 kgs. So I've now found how much the donkey was carrying. So one of the nice things about math is being able to check your work. So let's do that. We said that the mule had 220 kilograms, so the donkey had 260 kilograms, and the mule said if you take 100 away from the donkey, and he's left with 160, and you give that to the mule, and he has 320, does the mule now have twice as much? Yes. And from the donkey's perspective, he said if you take 100 away from the mule, leaving him with 120, and adding it to the donkey, giving him 360, does the donkey have 3 times as much? Yes. And it checks out. We got the right answer.